down, making a play on it, stabbing it out of the air for a big interception early. That should be massive for their confidence.
He'll come out throwing on first down. He's going to take off. At the 45 on his way. And they'll finally catch up to him, but not before a big chunk of yardage is picked up. The Knights want to pick up the tempo. Comes out throwing on first down. Fires to the wideout. And the pass hits, picked off. And he's wrapped up after a solid return on the pick.
You know, after watching that interception, I just wonder if this kid's too amped up tonight. He was so excited to take the field. He thought this was going to be a game that he could stat it up. He's going to have to do a better job tonight with his decision-making. That is not how you want to start a game.
And stampeding through the defense. And that stiff arm is a weapon for this runner. He uses it and picks up a first down.
Defense is going to have their hands full trying to stop this guy. They better rally to the football and get multiple hats because he is not easy to bring down.
Now the quarterback changing the original play call. He's looking to throw it right down the middle. What a snag by the defense. Got some room to run. And the interception was enough. The return made it even better as he gets it down to the 48-yard line.
And this is obviously not a great start for this quarterback here. 2 interceptions already in this game. He's got to do a much better job with his decision-making.
The UCF offense back on the field, ready to go to work. Using his legs to buy some time. Chucked it away just as he was hit. Can't find his man as he took a shot trying to deliver that football, and it'll be second down.
Get the quarterback off the spot. Make him flush from the pocket. Put a good hit on him. Check, check, check. You want to do everything you can to make the QB uncomfortable. The defense did all 3 of those on this play and finished it off with a nice lick, nice physical play on the quarterback.
Brought down at the 38. It's a pickup of 10 and a first down.
Well, with the weapons this offense has, you knew it was just a matter of time in the run game before someone was going to break a long one. They'd just been running into a wall. They just couldn't seem to find their creases and get enough movement up front, but they finally got it there, picking up the first. Let's see what happens next.
You want to talk about making it easy for an offensive coordinator. You pick up a bunch of yards on first down, make that second down really, really manageable. That's a great job by the offense.
They can really be aggressive after that last play. It's 2nd and 3. At the 20, he's got space. And they'll finally bring him down after he rips off a huge play.
What a run. Great speed, great vision, elusiveness, and David, he's tackled down close to the goal line.
Yeah, and this offense, when you can run the football like this, man, you will have success, especially in the red zone, trying to get touchdowns.
They'll use the running game on 1st and goal. He works his way ever closer all the way down to the 1-yard line. The Knights are in the hurry-up. Running play to the left here, looking for the end zone. And he takes it to the house. Touchdown, UCF! Precision blocking up front. Created the open lane, and the running back followed it beautifully.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to follow an offensive line that makes those holes and just gives you a caravan all the way to the end zone. What an unbelievable job blocking up front.
He'll bring it out. It's Sims. He stopped at the 23, a couple yards short of where he would have been with a touchback. And Auburn is ready to go back to work on offense. One of the most valuable things a quarterback can have, David, short-term memory. Just forget that last pick.
You're dang right. Clear the mechanism. It's over, move it behind you. Some players can't do that real well, and it leads to more mistakes, Jesse. You got to just forget about it and move on.
And I think the coaching staff can help him too, David. I think you can get the running game going here and also give him some easy throws.
Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. This is a design run. Got to be smart patient, great vision, uses all of that to get to the 29. Ball spotted at the 29. Here they come on 3rd and short. They'll try to get it through the air. He looks that one in nicely. And they'll spot it at the 38, and that'll be plenty for the first down. As they get set to snap it, just about to reach the end of the quarter. They'll throw it on 1st down. Going deep. And that will fall incomplete, and we have played one. Boy, they tried to end the first quarter on a high note to no avail. Second quarter's coming.
UCF 7, Auburn 0.
Second down here as they go back to work after the break. Running back searching for a hole. They knock him down right there.
And just a great job by the defense being stout, right? That's your job. Be stout up front, stuff in the run play, make them get in more passing situations, but do not let them run the football. That's 101. Stop the run first.
If they can convert here, that type of play can really give you a shot of momentum. Receivers telling the quarterback what they see. On 3rd and long, he's going to have to throw for it. Complete downfield. He gets it to the 38-yard line, and they'll pick up a fresh set of downs.
And listen, the defense knew coming into this one, they were going to target him early and often. He is a weapon, and there's no mystery where the quarterback's going to be looking on critical down and distances. Let's see how they're able to cover him throughout the rest of this game.
Open space at the 25. And they do a really good job. Not as easy as it looks to get those blocks. And he picks up the first down.
Well, after that last play, you can see how electrifying this guy is and how special he is after he makes the catch. If I'm on offense, I'm trying to find a lot of ways to get him touches in this game.
Keeping it on the ground on 1st and goal. He works his way all the way down to the 3, and the defense is reeling. Auburn to the line in a hurry. It's complete on the right side. And he'll take it in and house it. Touchdown, Auburn!
And what a nice start for this offense. The throw game getting working, getting the touchdown pass. This quarterback getting a little bit of confidence. This passing game getting in a rhythm. Nice start for this offense.
Let's go to the studio now and check in with Kevin Connors. Kevin, what do you got?
Two very different emotions inside the locker rooms of these teams who did battle today. Minnesota looked less like a pack of Gophers and more like a group of road warriors in a solid victory. This team almost always plays tough in front of its home fans, and today they found a way outside of Huntington Bank Stadium. 60 minutes of football and a convincing outcome, and certainly a game with implications far beyond just the standings, fellas.
Kevin, thanks a lot for that one. Sounds as if they had a good one there. And he's almost to that first down marker there, saying he's a little bit short. They might want to bring out the sticks and measure, but it looks as if he'll be just short of the first down. Now on 2nd down. Corner's right up on that line of scrimmage. Quarterback quick pass to the receiver. The expressway is wide open. And it is a chunk play, a huge gain on that one before the defense brings it to an end. It's 1st and 10. They've moved it to the 41. The give to the running back from the shotgun. And they try to run inside, and there is nowhere to go. Got stuffed on 1st down. It's 2nd and 10. Looking to throw. Getting some heat. Trying to make magic with his feet. He's finally stopped, but a big play there with his feet as he moves those sticks.
This guy just gives you nightmares. I mean, he's just got so much electricity. He just pulls it down and chews up yards like it's nothing. That's a quarterback. A quarterback doing that to your defense.
From the red zone, looking for a receiver. Outside the pocket, lets it go. And this sophomore quarterback just put it out there a little too far.
And that is a huge missed opportunity for the quarterback. You've got your guy wide open in the end zone. You're not under pressure. You just got to hit him. That ball got away. That's one he'd like to have back.
Wide receiver coming across in motion. Power football with the run. Plows ahead for a pickup of 4 down to the 14. Really need to pick up this conversion and avoid having to settle for the field goal. 3rd and long, and he'll try to throw for it. The sweet feet keeping the play alive. He is brought down, but man, what a job to find some running room and move the chains. The Knights trying to get a touchdown on 1st and goal. They'll try to get it in with the run. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
You want to bring in your tight ends? You want to bring in more beef for that offensive line? I'm going to bring in more beef. Nice job by the defense understanding the situation. Red zone, field shrinks. I need more bigger personnel in the field, some big guys that can stop the run. Played the run well. Great job by the defense understanding the situation.
And they're able to get him down.
It's looking like they're going to have to try to throw this one into the end zone here on 3rd down, David. Quarterback's got to be careful. Can't get greedy because you know these windows, they close fast.
Extremely tight windows. Find your big body guys that you know can win in contested situations here on 3rd down.
So loud it's rattling your fillings on 3rd and goal. Here's the snap, looking to throw. Scrambling away. They stop him short as he was trying to scramble and find his way to the goal line. 4th and goal from the 3. Let's see what this offense can dial up from here. He's looking to throw. Fires into the end zone. And this will fall incomplete, and they'll turn it over on downs.
Well, they're unable to come up with that one on 4th down. And I remember this as a player. You practice specific plays on 4th down for those types of situations. And you know all week against the scout team, they've gotten really clean looks, easy to execute against. They didn't get a clean look that time. So you chalk it up to the defense and take note of it next time. You might not run that play again if you're in a similar situation.
Slow down. You'll take 3, 4, 5 yards a pop, but you can't give up the massive plays. You got to do a better job containing the football, making him run to guys, and get him on the ground. For goodness sakes, this guy is fast, I know, but defensively, we got to swarm to the football and get him on the ground.
Quarterback will audible. Looking to go up top on 1st down. And he was drilled just as he released the pass. It's incomplete.
His pass rush is serious, man. When you watch them on film, they do a nice job in the back end, taking away all the throws downfield. He's trying to get to his check down, but that pressure, it gets to him, and the hit forced the incomplete.
On 2nd down, looking again to throw. This time it's complete. The offense will have to use its first timeout of the half.
Man, this guy's going to need some water when he gets to the sidelines. They've been putting him to work on this drive, right? We've seen him toting the rock with success. Now you're seeing him get involved in the passing game, too. They are highlighting his versatility here on this drive.
Going up top on 1st down. Buys a little time. grabbed in the middle. It's Johnson. They make the stop, but there is a flag on the field. We'll see what that's all about. They'll decline the penalty here, and the result of the play stands. The Tigers will snap it on 1st and 10. Looking to move it through the air. Fires to the right. Can't quite make the connection there. Might have led him a little too much.
Well, on that last play, you'd like to see the quarterback be a little bit more accurate and give his guy a chance to make the play. That ball wasn't even close to his intended target's body.
Time dwindling away as they try to put points on the board right before the half. On 2nd down, he's looking downfield. Threads it inside the 10. And he just kept running, and he ran away from the crowd, and he'll take it in. Touchdown, Auburn. They'll try to tack one more on their score. And the PAT gives them a 14-7 lead. So that scoring drive took only 6 plays. And they finish things off with a 44-yard touchdown pass. Oh, he's going to take a chance. Nothing wrong with the touchback, and they wish they had one right now, but he stopped at the 9-yard line. Listen to this crowd just shaking the girders of this place, trying to help their defense. He wants to throw. Moves away as he feels pressure. The pass is incomplete, and 1 second is left.
And just an awesome job by that defender on that play. Great awareness, and he had his eyes on the quarterback, so he saw the ball thrown, and as such, he was able to go and swat it away.
Fires one high and deep. Incomplete. He took a shot on the final play of the quarter and couldn't quite find his man. That's the end of the 2nd quarter. That means it's time to join Kevin in our halftime update. Auburn ready to boot it deep to start the 2nd half. And no chance at a return here. They'll start this drive at their own 25. Now the UCF offense ready to go back to work. They start this 3rd quarter, 1-possession game, and hoping to get an early drive going.
This offense is ready, and they're ready to take the field.
Got a lot of running room. And he put his foot in the ground and turned it upfield and turned it into a big play. Great decision to keep it.
If I'm building an offense in today's football, it's not around a quarterback that can't run. I'm going to find an athlete that I can give the ball, because defensively, it starts to limit your coverages. It starts to limit what I can do. It makes me play the quarterback every single play. Just makes your job as a defensive coordinator extremely hard.
It'll be a 1st down from the 49-yard line. Out of the gun, they'll run it inside. Bulls his way forward. And he has a solid gain before the defense bottles him up.
Well, this offense came into the game knowing they wanted to be physical, they wanted to establish the line of scrimmage, and they're running downhill right at this defense, and they're churning out positive yardage early.
Now he's going to break the pocket. Receiver looks it in, it's complete. Excellent job working through the air there, finding a hole in that defense and picking up a 1st down.
And it's so hard to be on the run and make an accurate throw. It's just very tough. Very few people can do it. Again, we see the freaks and we see the highlights all the time, but that's a tough thing to do. He made it look pretty easy.
Hit hard as he released the ball on that 1st down pass, and it never had a chance. Back to pass, it's Cherry. Got a man. And he'll make his way out of bounds after the solid pickup.
This quarterback right now is in a groove, and he's doing a nice job in pre-snap. He's reading the coverage, and he's getting an idea of where he wants to go with the football. That's why the ball's coming out of his hands so quickly. That's why he seems like he's in a great rhythm.
Decibels rising as the crowd gets behind this defense on third down. He'll take it himself. Headed to the end zone, and he'll race it to the house. Touchdown, Knights! Lining up for the PAT. And they did make the extra point, and we have a tie ball game here in the third. And for a quick update, let's go to Kevin Connors in the studio.
Guys, right back to your game after we update the nation on this one. Cincinnati pulled out a win today on a day they clearly did not have their best. And that's a testament to those Bearcat players. That winning gene, I really believe it's a thing. The circle of life in college football, where one team moves on feeling like kings, and the other heads home licking its wounds.
Yeah, how about that? Sounds as if they had a good ball game there. Kevin, thanks for the update.
You know, one of the tricky parts with play action for a quarterback is that when you turn your back to the defense to sell the play fake, you have no idea what's going on behind you. You don't know what the coverage has become, and you don't know which D linemen have won their one-on-ones. The worst thing is you turn around after the play fake, and bam! That defender's right in your face.
Oh, he's going to try to hit him deep. It's caught downfield. Touchdown, Tigers. They take the lead with the 6. They'll try to add another to their lead. And the extra point is true, and they're on top by 7. This offense prides itself on going after you, and they did with that long touchdown pass to finish off a 2-play drive. The kickoff here and about to go to work. Not going to risk a return here. He'll make the fair catch. UCF has it once again. What do you think about that? How about that blocking up front in that running game last time as they just walked it down for a touchdown, David?
And the big boys up front doing their job. Opening holes, the backs making plays, everything on the ground on that first drive worked.
And we know that this is the identity this coaching staff wants for this team, right? They want to be the most physical team on the field. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Back to throw, it's Cherry. Complete. Ball down at the 39-yard line, but he's got 15 yards on the play and a fresh set of downs. Wants to throw on first down. Pocket starts to collapse. The short hands, it's Wade. Open runway ahead. That is exactly what you're looking for when you talk explosive plays. The defense finally able to make the stop.
How nice is it as a quarterback when you don't have to throw post routes to get great stats? No, I can just throw it quickly to one of the fastest players in the entire nation and let him burn this defense.
Touchdown, UCF! And they'll put that scoreboard operator to work and put 6 on the board.
One of the reasons this offense is so exciting to watch, they've got guys that are dangerous after the catch. And if this quarterback gets through his progression, David, hits you in stride, these guys will take it to the house.
Man, it's your job to do the rest, right? You hit me in stride where I don't have to stop running. I don't have to break down. It makes it so easy. The connection between quarterback, wide receiver, you can tell this is a good one, and that's why they got 6 on that play.
Now here comes that Auburn offense onto the field again. And David, how they would love to stick it in the end zone one more time after that last drive.
And once you get the defense on their heels and you back them off a little bit, you get in a little bit of rhythm, it's really hard to stop, Jesse, and they're going to try to do it again right here.
And if you're this play caller, you're loving what's happening right now because everything you dialed up on that last drive ended up working out. You're just looking at your play sheet. Everything you're picking is working. Let's see if they can pull it off again here.
He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple.
It's hard to run on a defense that comes off the ball like that and runs to the football like that. Good luck. No holes anywhere.
On third down, he'll try to pick it up through the air. He's got his man. Good tackle there to stop him short of the first down, and now they have to make a call. They allowed the completion, but this defense was swarming to keep them away from that first down line.
Yeah, and you allow completions in those third down situations underneath the sticks, and you come up and rally, and everybody flies to the football. That's great execution by this defense.
So the decision has been made, and the coach will take the penalty. First down here for the offense. Trying to start the drive with a pass. They're trying to get to him. Hit hard just as he released it on first down and just couldn't get it to the receiver. The Knights headed quickly to the line. To the air, it's Cherry. Dances away to buy time. Makes the grab on the right. And what a huge chunk play for this offense. Just exactly what you need to move the ball down the field.
Thank you very much. That's what the quarterback's thinking on that last play. I think he was even shocked that his receiver was that wide open downfield. He'll take it.
He's got it. Huge gain before he goes out of bounds, and now they've got it first and goal.
Well, how about the offense setting that play up? We've seen earlier in the game a couple shorter throws. They're just trying to suck those safeties closer to the line of scrimmage, anticipating that they would get an opportunity to take a shot. They called the perfect play at the perfect time right there.
The Knights trying to cash it in on first and goal. They'll go to the air. Quickly complete. Touchdown, Knights! And they made it to the house where they found that 6 points waiting on them. And the extra point makes it a 28-21 score. About to kick it away after scoring the touchdown. A rather inauspicious start with the kickoff out of bounds and great field position for this offense. Looking for a productive play on first down. He's going to pass. Unloads to the wideout. Pulls it in. He's run out of bounds, but a big play on that one, and it'll be a first down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs.
And if I'm a defense, I got to find a way to get some more pressure on the quarterback or disrupt their timing and their rhythm. I can't give them these big chunk plays through the air. I got to be maybe a little bit more aggressive or do something a little bit different.
And they finally haul him down, but not before the good catch and run. Defense just a little too eager, and that's 5 yards for the O. Just enough time for one more snap before the end of the quarter. Looking to throw. Can't find his man as he took a shot trying to deliver that football, and it'll be second down.
This QB has been so comfortable all day long. Obviously having a ton of success. You've got to affect him. You've got to put some hits on him, those body blows, so you can make him wear out and physically feel you. This is the first time really getting to him. This defense needed this bad.
This one's complete. They get it down to the 7 on that pass play in prime position for a score. Starting off this quarter close enough to smell the goal line. turning to the running game on 1st and goal. He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple. That linebacker saw the express lane right to the ball carrier.
And a great job by the defensive line getting some push, making them use their resources on him. Linebacker comes free, boom, and making the backfield for a tackle for a loss.
Defense rose up deep in its own end on that last play. Now a 2nd and long coming. The run up the middle, looking for the score. Pushes ahead for 2 to the 7-yard line.
I don't know about that play call, man. Your quarterback's already thrown 3 TDs in this game. Pollock, let him cook down here.
Yeah, I mean, trying to show some balance, but he has had a great day. I trust him. This is a good situation. I'm going to put the ball in his hands, and I'm going to let him throw this football and get a touchdown.
Right through his hands. He had a touchdown and just didn't look the ball in. It'll be 4th down. So here we are on 4th down, and this field goal kicker is going to face all the pressure in the world. Between the uprights, it's good.
And look, obviously you would have loved to score a touchdown there, but you did the important thing. Kicked a field goal, you're now within 1 possession. Can your defense get you the football back, and can your offense drive the field and put it in the end zone? This is what you practice for. Let's see if they can go execute, fellas.
UCF offense back on the field, ready to go to work. And now that cushion is a little bit smaller, Jesse, and any mistake would get magnified.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure now on this offense too, David. I think they got to go back to their playmakers and get these guys going in the game.
No doubt. Find those plays you know you can run them in your sleep. You make sure you execute. Build this lead a little bit bigger. Put this thing away in the 4th quarter.
They've got it at the 37. It's 1st and 10. Defense going to jam these receivers right off the line. Here's an interception. Oh, did they need that turnover? Trying to take it back. Touchdown, Tigers. And this defense coming up with points of their own. What an interception return.
How about that play by this defense? The offense trying to salt the game away with the lead. Defense makes the biggest play of the ball game, getting the pick, finding the end zone, and taking the lead late in this ball.
They'll kick it off and send that defense right back out there to try to score again after the pick 6. No return coming. He'll call for the fair catch. Now the UCF offense ready to go back to work. Well, the good news is they threw a touchdown pass last time. It was just to the wrong team, Jesse.
Well, that's an unfortunate part of the game for quarterbacks, but guess what? They do happen, so you've got to be able to turn the page here and lead this offense.
Well, I think you know this defense is going to be aggressive. They're going to jump routes. They're going to play aggressive. You got to take advantage of that. Maybe use that this time to your advantage.
The Knights racing to the line in the hurry-up. Touch pass on the jet sweep. And this one will be stopped for no gain. These fans stepping up to help this defense on 3rd down. Looking to throw, it's Cherry. Coming after it. And there was nowhere to go for this quarterback, and down he goes.
And that is a great job by the defense, containing and constricting the pocket. There was nowhere for the QB to go, and he did not have a lot of time. He went down quick.
It's a 1-score game late, and they've got to go for it on 4th down. He'll try to throw and pick up the 1st down. He's going to run it. At the 40, there he goes. He will step out of bounds, but not before the big pickup and a 1st down for this offense.
Defensively, I think you have different strategies for these situations. The clock is your friend, right? You want that thing to tick. You're up in the 4th quarter, but you don't want to sit back and prevent, because you've heard the saying, you really just prevent yourself from winning.
The Knights are rolling down the field.
Nice confidence by the QB. Good throw over the middle of the field. Nice little strike down the field for a big play. Listen, you got to throw.
And the quarterback will take a sack back at the 36. Second down now after the sack. He's looking to throw. How about that play to get a hand in there and force the incompletion?
Defense were always trying to get some tips. You know, break on the football, get a tip, get it up in the air. Nice job by the player breaking on the football and forcing the incompletion.
On 3rd and long, you'll need to push it downfield. Fires into traffic, picked off. And the return man just kept finding alleys to run in, and he gets it to the 46-yard line.
Really tough on an offense. 3rd and long, it's tough to know you're passing the football. They know you're passing the football. I'm going to rush the passer. I'm going to drop back deep, make you throw the ball underneath. But, you know, quarterbacks also want to force that football and try to get that first down. He does there, and that's why he creates the turnover.
They'll come out on this drive and let it rip. Firing to the right, complete. He's just winning that matchup in the slot every time.
And when you put him in the slot, Reese is closer to the quarterback. It's an easier throw. We can run in, we can run out, and really take advantage of his versatility of the guy at that slot position.
He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple.
How about the defender being a heat-seeking missile? He was on radar lock. He found the football and flew down with some bad intentions.
We've reached the 2-minute warning in this offense, trying to milk this clock and keep time on their side. Big 3rd down play here. If they get a stop, you'll see an immediate timeout. Calls his own number. He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple. Auburn lines up quickly.
Now, a 4th down.
Quarterback making adjustments with his receivers. Gotta have it here on 4th down. And it's taken away by the defense, and they desperately needed that turnover.
You talk about coming up big in a big moment. Nice job by this defense. You had to make something happen. You had to get the football back so you could give your offense a chance to win this game for you. Nice job by the D.
Timeout called by the defense. It's their first of the half as they'll make some adjustments. 1st down for this offense. He's looking to throw it. He makes the connection. They make the stop, but this passing game does some damage, and they move the sticks with the 1st down. Looking to throw, it's Cherry. Throws to the wideout. Right on the money to the outside. He dragged the toe, and how about the ball placement? Only the receiver could get it.
Where's the defense on that last play? It's a 2-minute situation. You've got the guy making the catch in the middle of the field. You've got to tackle him in bounds and keep this clock moving. Somehow they were able to let him get outside and stop the clock. That just can't happen.
And wisely gets out of bounds to stop the clock. They've got the 1st down, now in plus territory and a chance to save themselves. Looking to move it through the air. Got a man, it's Wade.
And this is the time where I'm a defense. I'm slow to get up. I'm making sure I stay on that offensive player. I'm trying to eat up as much clock and make this offense burn as much clock as I can.
And this coaching staff right now, you know they're looking at the analytics too, right? How many timeouts do we have left? We want to think about dialing up some play calls that get guys catching the football or get the ball out of bounds to stop the clock. You've got a good rhythm right here. You're in a good position in the field to go win this thing, but you've got to be really smart with your play calls.
Here comes this home crowd as the defense tries to get off the field on 3rd down. And how about that alertness and that swarming D to keep him from getting the 1st down? The defense uses their 2nd timeout of the half as they try to get their act together. Trailing by a possession, they need to keep the ball. They'll try to convert on 4th down. Desperate to convert, and he'll throw it. And that pass is intercepted. He was looking for room to return that, but he'll just hand it to the offense. They'll take over at the 18.
When you're down late in the game, you got to make plays. It's really tough not to force the football. You can tell quarterback forces the football. Defense comes up with a huge interception.
Wide out in motion. Quick pass on the jet motion. Runs through a tackle. And he's able to find a little bit of running room before they get him down. Defense uses a timeout quickly, trying to get that ball back and preserve time for their offense. If they can pick up a yard here on 2nd down, that might put this one in the books. Trucks through the defender. Tackle is made after the 1st down. Timeout called there by the defense, desperate to get the ball back and save as much time as possible. So with the late lead, they're ready to just drain the clock in victory formation. Don't want to risk anything here. The quarterback takes a knee. Plenty of fireworks in this one. A lot of points. They always talk about having the chalk last, and it seemed like whoever was on offense had the last laugh.
And it's amazing how much offenses will just boom in college football. So good. So many ways to hurt you. And you saw both of these offenses put on a show today, Jess.
Dave, we talked to both of these coaching staffs, and their defensive coordinators were losing sleep all week. They knew this was going to be a tough task ahead of them. So much speed, so much firepower on both of these offenses. And, man, we saw that here today.
That's going to do it for us from here. For Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, I'm Reese Davis, and this has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.